You all know me. Know how I like scallycapping. I'll catch this scallycap for you, but it ain't gonna be easy. Not like catching Swisher or Peaky Hat. With Boston Scally, you get the cap, the apparel, and the $30 pin set.
Here it is. This is the Captain Quint by Boston Scally Company. This is a single panel, weathered brown and blue cotton blend cap. In Boston Scally's own words, this Captain Quint cap is a tribute to the legendary shark hunter, channeling the character, resilience, and weathered utility of a man who lives at sea. Here is the cap in hand. This is the second cap in the Jaws collection. This is the Captain Quint cap, and this bad boy just came in today. And what a cap that this is. Of course, Boston Scally does a really at this point a plethora, a ton of movie collabs, and this was one of the ones that they have done before. Like I said, this is the second in the Jaws collection, and this is one that I think that a lot of people were really looking forward to, or not looking forward to in the sense that they knew it was coming, but once it came out, it was like, yeah, that's an awesome cap. And I'll just go ahead and say this up front. I have the other Jaws cap. It is, I believe it's called the Ocean Blue and Great White is what they called that one. It's a fantastic looking cap too. Here it is. This is actually that cap. I have not done a review on this cap. Its own video, but really cool, the Jaws logo there that we all know so well. And that's the original one, and I really like it too. But I'm just going to go ahead and say, I think that this one, the Captain Quint cap, it is a much more interesting looking cap. It's a much more thematic cap. I mean, I do think it's cool that, they got the Great White in there, and it does look kind of like, the other part of the Great White's body, the top half, the darker bluish color. So I think that's really cool. But in my opinion, it just doesn't even compare to the Captain Quint cap. I think you could argue that Captain Quint in the movie Jaws, is probably the top 10, maybe even 5 best cinematic characters of all time. I don't think many people would argue that. He's such a legendary character at this point. He was, of course, Robert Shaw is who starred as Quint, and we never got that character again. And it's so crazy to me in a way that the Jaws sequels stopped at Jaws the Revenge, essentially Jaws 4, in the 80s, and we never got past that, which is so crazy to me because look at all the sequels that we have with so many other movies, especially like horror franchises. You have all the Halloweens, all the Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Streets, all these movies, remakes, reboots, and yeah, they're not all that great. And Jaws 4, I think, is The Revenge. It's a pretty horrific movie. I actually really liked Jaws 4. I liked it as a kid because I thought that I liked it because it showed the shark so much. Of course, when I grew up, I was like, yeah, this movie ain't that good, but it is really funny. And as of you may know that Michael Caine actually stars in that movie, and he is famously quoted, and now this won't be verbatim, but that he has never seen that movie, but he's seen the house that it bought. I don't know. I've made short films and been interested in films since I was very young. I just kind of find it hard to believe that you would have starred in something like that and never watched it, not even one time. Maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he has never actually seen Jaws the Revenge. But if he hasn't, he needs to watch it because he's missing one of the best comedies of the 1980s. So if you haven't, just go ahead, Michael Caine. If you're watching this video, go watch Jaws the Revenge. You'll enjoy it at this point, I hope. But getting back to, of course, this is based on the original film, the 1975 classic, the first blockbuster in cinematic history, Jaws. Just one more thing about just the franchise in general. So it's so hard to talk about the cap without talking about the franchise. But I have a theory about Jaws, and I have a theory about, in particular, the soundtrack of Jaws, the theme, Jaws the theme, which, of course, John Williams composed that theme. Such a brilliant theme. But I have a theory that Jaws theme is not only the most recognizable music in all of history, all of history. I believe that. I also think it's the most quickly recognized music in all of history because all you have to do is hum two notes, and everybody knows exactly what you're referring to, and that is dun. Everybody knows that's Jaws. So that's my little Jaws theory. And that I think Jaws 2 is one of the most underrated sequels of all time. Of course, you have, Terminator 2, Aliens, The Empire Strikes Back, all of that, which people, commonly say those are the best, better than the original. And I'm not going to sit here and say that Jaws 2 is objectively better than Jaws. Jaws is a masterpiece of filmmaking. It'll never be topped. But if you're going to ask me on a given day, I'm probably going to prefer watching Jaws 2 over Jaws. I just think it's the movie's more fun. I like all the teenager aspect. It's almost like a PG movie slasher flick, except it's on the ocean in broad daylight. That's what Jaws 2 kind of is to me. So I know that's probably not a very popular opinion. And I acknowledge Jaws for the masterpiece it is. And I think anybody can see that. It is objectively the best out of the franchise. Absolutely, and the best shark movie ever made. But back to this, Cap. Oh man, I really like this, and this is really cool right here. These are pockets up here. I have no idea what you would actually put in there, but they do have, this cap does have the pockets, and then I love this on the brim, that rope. That is so neat. And then you have the outlets there, the breathable outlets, the ventilation holes, and these colors are neat. And then you have the orca on the back, which is so cool. Of course, that is referring to Captain Quint's boat. He was captain of the orca, and then there is that pin there, and it is the Jaws from the movie Jaws. You see it as Quint, Brody, and Matt Hooper are taking the boat out to try to find and kill the shark. So cool. And this pin set, let's go ahead and talk about the pin set because it is great. As you can see it right there, some really cool pins included with this. You have the harpoon gun. Of course, you have the Jaws that I just showed you on my cap that I decided to put on there. You actually have the orca as well on there. And then there's one more, and it is slipping my mind, so let me go ahead and, sorry about that. Let me just take a look at it. And then you have Amity, the Amity Island. Which is, of course, where the film takes place, where the shark is attacking all the people. So a stellar pin set, and you've got to give it to Boston Scally for listening to everybody about the pin sets and the caps. They, what they did, they had to create, they must have made way more because the last pin set sold out. It was insane. I think before this cap, before the Jaws cap, it was, oh my goodness, a couple minutes, maybe. People were furious on social media. They were so mad about this. And I can't blame them because, some of these caps, without the pins, it's kind of hard to tell what they're going for sometimes. But this pin set lasted for at least 12 hours, I know, because I was watching it. So it did last. So Boston Scally, props to them for that. They were only allowing 2 per purchase, per customer. So you could only buy 2 of the pin sets. And then for the cap, there was, I believe, a 3 limit on the cap. And people complain like, oh, you've got to do something. Well, they did something. So you got to hand it to them because they did actually listen to their customers. And so if you didn't get this cap, and the cap lasted a long time as well, and if you didn't get the pin set, sorry, buddy, this time it's on you. That wasn't Boston Scally because they really did give ample time to grab all of this stuff. I think the only thing that really sold out really quickly, and I'll go ahead and show them here because they offered 2 shirts, 2 really cool shirts with this. I like them. I especially like the brown one. I thought it was really neat, but I wasn't particularly enamored, really taken away by these. So I passed them up because, as you can see here, I have this shirt and it does say Amity Island. So this was the first one that was released with the first Captain the Jaws series. I had this shirt already, so I was like, I like it. I didn't really like the colors on the Quint shirt, on the shark hunting, that yellow and the black. It didn't look great to me, but it sold out really quickly. That one, I think, within an hour or so. But like I said, I already had this Amity Island shirt, which I really like, long sleeve. So I was like, whatever, I'll just wear this with the Quint cap. And also, this is really neat as well. On the interior, it's mesh, and you see Quint right there. So really neat. And again, that rope. I just love how they did that. Now, this cap was a little bit more expensive than Boston Scally caps typically are, but only by a couple of dollars. I think it was 55. Typically they're 50, 52, somewhere in that range. And I actually hadn't bought a Boston Scally cap in a long time. They really, they just weren't appealing to me what they were releasing. Of course, you had the Independence Day things and some caps like that, and that's awesome. I just really wasn't in. I don't know. They just really weren't doing it for me. And then you had the Top Gun cap, and I'm just not a huge Top Gun fan anyways. I actually really like the movie, the sequel, which didn't come out too long ago, Top Gun Maverick. I think that's a far better film than the original. Now, the pin set for the Top Gun cap was really cool. That was a nice pin set. But I passed on it. I'm just not that big, a big enough, I feel, fan of that franchise together, even though there's only 2 movies in the Top Gun series. But I just didn't feel like that was a cap for me. I waited till the cap came out and took a look at it, but it just wasn't doing it for me. It wasn't a bad cap. I was like, whatever. If I'd have been a huge Top Gun fan, let's just be honest, I'd have probably got it. But I'm not. So it was a pretty easy pass for me. So the last thing that did come with this is this dust bag. And now this thing is immaculate. Look at this dust bag. I am a big fan of this. It's Quint's jacket, of course, you see there. And it's so cool. It looks so neat. And the drawstrings, they're just the brown drawstrings. But this, to me, has to be probably the top 5 dust bags that Boston Scally has ever made, because it's different on front and back. So they went all out on this dust bag. So cool. You could never confuse that with any of your other Boston Scally caps hanging in the closet. I don't think so. It's such an awesome dust bag with this cap, the Captain Quint. So they are actually re-releasing, not re-releasing, they're making a new salt box, and that's coming up. I already have the original salt box. I did a review of that not too long. That may have actually been either that or the Turtles was my last Boston Scally review. So it's been a while since I've bought a new Boston Scally cap. But this one, because I'm just such a huge fan of Jaws, I think if you've never seen Jaws, you at least know what it is. There's no way that if you're, over 10 years old, probably. I mean, it's a masterpiece of cinema. Everyone knows what Jaws is. So such an incredible cap to go with such an incredible movie and character, because the Captain Quint character, he's just, everybody loves him, right? They love his sass. He's an old curmudgeon, really. Sea captain, weathered. Of course, everybody knows his monologue when they're on the Orca in the latter part of the movie, when he's talking about the USS Indianapolis sinking, and that is one of the best monologues in all of cinema too. So Jaws is, of course, it's a 5 out of 5 movie. So speaking about a 5 out of 5 movie, let's go ahead and rate this puppy. So this is of course, I've said it 1,000 times in this review now, the Captain Quint by Boston Scally Company. And but before I rate this, I want to say a special thank you to my wife. She drew the shark in the beginning that you saw on the dry erase board. There's no chalkboards left in this world, hardly, like you see in the original film, so we couldn't get it that accurate to the film. But she drew that for me. She drew the little scally cap on there, so thank you for doing that for me, and helping with the intro once again. So I'm going to go ahead and rate this, the Captain Quint by Boston Scally Company. I rate on a scale from 1 to 5, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. Yeah, it's a 5. It's a 5. I can't help it. I can't help myself. I just, and people are like, you always give stuff a 5, blah, blah, blah. Like, well, I'm not going to buy caps that I don't like, that I don't want to wear. And this one, I'm such a big fan of Jaws anyway. And this cap, to me, they just completely knocked it out of the park. So this is a 5 out of 5, the Captain Quint by Boston Scally Company. It feels good to have a new Boston Scally on the head. It's been a while, like I said, since I've bought one. So thank y'all so much for watching today, and I do hope that y'all have a great rest of your day.